probably the 5th or 6th week into the new role as mayor, which is exciting, but it's been extraordinarily busy. I kind of was prepared in some ways for that, but which is one of the things I think would be interesting to talk about, is that tension between the role as mayor as ceremonial person who opens functions and attends things, versus mayor as the strategic leader within a city and actually taking it somewhere. And I'm seeing that tension very vividly already.
You started off with a mandate, a substantial swing, a council who essentially can support you in the chamber. How's that holding up? Is the group of people that have come with you just as excited as on their election? They
are, and I think that's holding up well, although it's still early days, I would say, and I think we won't really know that until we get further down the track. There's a steep learning curve for new councillors, and getting their heads around the issues and getting them briefed up to where they feel like they can start to drive issues themselves. And we're still at that learning stage in some ways, about educating them as to what council's been doing. Yeah, no, the new council is just proving to be entirely different to the old council in every way, and that's fantastic.
So you're a bit of the old man helping with these young kids to train them to be councillors. Do you find that, do you?
Well, it's funny because I was always the youngest councillor by far, and I'm still the second youngest on council. Yeah, but in many ways you find yourself in that role of being the most experienced person, which is strange because I think I got used to being in the habit of pushing things pretty hard, but then ultimately realising that it would ultimately fall back to Peter or to somebody else to take responsibility for it. And that realisation now, actually, if it doesn't work, it actually comes back to me. I certainly know the direction which I want to go, and one of the things that I'm really keen to do over the summer when it quietens down a little bit is actually start to really clear and putting those into very specific projects which we can drive forward, and we'll all link up as to a coherent whole. And that coherent whole is Fremantle as a sustainable, vibrant regional centre. I mean, that's the whole, which has a great sense of place and community.
You've had one public meeting on the East End.
Yeah.
How did it go?
It went pretty well. An amazing turnout. I mean, again, shows kind of community Fremantle. I mean, we booked our biggest room and couldn't fit everybody in. Used up every chair in the place, trying to squeeze everybody into it. And I mean, there was the usual NIMBY, not let's don't do anything. But that wasn't the majority voice. I think it was lots of really good discussion. On the second day, where we actually started to workshop some of these ideas, and you saw people actually thinking about what you could do and what the possibilities were. There's some really great ideas coming from both residents and landowners in that area. One of the challenges for us is, what in many ways we're doing, we're going through a scheme amendment which will allow greater density and different uses and those kind of things out there. But how you prescribe an urban form when you don't own the land? I would love to be able to do something that said, look, if you give us a 5 Green Star development, we'll give you 6 stories. If you give us a 6 Green Star development, we'll give you 7 stories. I mean, those kind of simple, rewards.
You can still say no. Saying yes and what you want is harder, in fact.
Yeah, that's right. In fact, sorry, it's a bit off topic, but the one I'm going to next is to speak to the Fremantle Society, the AGM. I'm trying to think about what do I say to the heritage lobby in this town, who were none of their candidates got up at the local election. They were all soundly beaten, and everyone was clearly tired of their way of doing politics, I think. But I want to kind of be constructive and say, we want you involved, but not in a way that just says no and less constantly, as though but actually, yeah, this is the great stuff we can do, and actually what's the positive solutions and constructive way they can be engaged. But
that's a good thing.
Yes.
How to say yes. I mean, it's quite brave of you to go and do that. Do you feel a few qualms about that?
Yeah, I spent a fair bit of time trying to get the tone right, because I started off being a bit more, wanting. I was never going to be too triumphalist, but I wanted to say, hey, this is, if you can't see this is a bit of a wake-up call, then maybe your relevance is running out. But but I want to be a bit more conciliatory, and I think there's probably more to be gained from actually trying to bring them in as a constructive partner but whether that's possible or not. But I'll still lay down the challenge that.
Well, I think most of them would think of themselves as green, and yet it's no longer just waving a flag. You're actually mainstreaming it. So if they want to be part of that mainstreaming, there's a different mindset now, and that's what you're leading, and it is a process that had to happen, and maybe the previous phase had to happen too.
Yeah, and I think you don't. I think you do want to take it to this next phase, but not in a way that I think excludes those kinds of people from the debate, because they have good things to offer. And I mean, I think I would like them to actually understand that what we're doing here is not we're not doing it because we're trying to make developers happy. We're doing it because we actually care about our community. We want our community to thrive. And those old dualisms actually don't make sense anymore. They might have made sense in 1973, but I don't think they make sense in 2010.
Right now, you're in the context of an Australia-wide debate about climate change that has been very painful, highly political. We finally cannot take something to Copenhagen to illustrate that we are part of the solution, not part of the problem, as we were. How do you see what you're doing here in that global sense?
I think you're part. Yeah, in some. I mean, I'm not sure I'd say it's globally significant, but what I think it is it's part of actually showing that political leadership is possible. I mean, because I think what's been extraordinary about this debate, from my perspective, is that every level of government we've had just an absolute failure of leadership, where there's a lot of people saying this is the problem, this is a mammoth problem which society is facing, and then these piddly responses. And it's almost like you can't match them up. And the same people are saying, I mean, both of these things. So I don't want to be one of those politicians who acknowledges the problem but not the solution. But also think about actually, we're not going to get to that solutions focus until you have actual places like Fremantle working their way through it and showing it is possible. And so what I'd like in 4 years' time to be is one of those case study cities showing this is what a city can do to address these problems, and an example of leadership as a whole of council. And the fear that somehow that by reducing our carbon footprint, that as a society we're going to suffer so hugely that it's going to... And actually, my view is that what climate change requires us to do in terms of reducing emissions, I think we should be doing anyway, in terms of peak oil, in terms of just creating good communities and good livable neighbourhoods. I mean, and there actually is a lot of synergies there, and we should be celebrating those synergies rather than just seeing this as an attack on the Australian way of life.
Yeah. So that's a pretty important agenda. That's global.
Yeah, that's true. It is global. Yeah, and it's exciting. And I think if you can't, and I guess my view is, if you can't do it in Fremantle, where can you do it? Because Fremantle, it is a progressive community who's voted in a progressive council of a highly educated community who wants to see change happen. So and we've got the right historic urban form that's the foundations for a sustainable city.
Can you anticipate what could stop these things from happening, and how are you trying to get it structurally in place?
What will stop it is, there's a couple of things you could see going wrong where the community... be honest with you, the Fremantle community is not a very trusting community and this is part of the problem. They're very suspicious of development always. And you could see that there was a real loss of trust around that somehow this is just for developers and for greedy people, that you could just see it being lost along those lines. So bringing the community with us is going to be important, and that balance, but not letting NIMBYism take over, and that's real balance. I also think we are pushing the boundaries for what's an inherently conservative bureaucracy, and the council officers are reasonably comfortable with to a certain extent, and then I guess at some level, I find myself, pushing beyond their level of what they're comfortable with, so that's also making sure that they trust that the council knows what it's doing, and that we provide a really strong case and a vision for where we're going, and that's about actually engaging the council staff on their level through the strategic plan and those kinds of things, showing actually this is we've clearly signed up for this as an organisation, and you need to be a partner with us in getting us there.
You feel quite confident?
Yeah, no, the more I'm in it, the more I like it. I'm just really looking forward to the new year and just this silly season being kind of over, so I can actually do the work I love. Yeah, I think actually, and yeah, I've had help. I mean, wrapping up Murdoch still and those kind of things is just so I can just focus. Yeah. Oh no, this is great. Yeah, I really like it. Yeah.